When you talk about Pelé, Cristiano Ronaldo, Michael Jordan, or Tiger Woods, you're basically talking about legends. People who forever changed the world and their respective sports. But within the world of watchmaking, who would be the equivalent? It undoubtedly has to be a recognized figure, but above all, someone who has had a significant impact on watchmaking today. And without a doubt, that person is Gerald Genta. Although his name might not be familiar to you, it's likely you've seen some of his designs. He was responsible for creating many watches that are iconic today and have shaped the hobby we all love. His vibrant designs can be compared to watching Michael Jordan play or attending a Queen concert in the stadiums of England. What's even more impressive is that designs made in the 1950s are still relevant today, which is incredibly challenging to achieve. I bet that what's in fashion today won't be relevant in 2090, but Gerald Genta's designs will still be cherished. Now, there are a few examples of watches that have remained popular for so long, and I think the clearest example is the Cartier tank. Inspired by French tanks from World War I and still relevant since 1917. But let's look at his most famous watches. The first one was the Universal Genève Pole Router. It's a vintage watch with a very classic design, inspired by the first flight between the United States and Europe via the North Pole. However, I feel this watch is more famous for its micro-rotor movement than for its design. Guys, 92% of you who watch my videos are not subscribed. So if you like talking about watches and the market, please click the subscribe button, activate the bell, and I'll see you here next time. Then there's the Omega Pipan, which begins to hint at Genta's characteristic angular design. Legend has it that this watch was inspired by a pan used for making pies, hence Pipan, which is where it gets its name. We can still see the classic lines here, but we get a hint of what was to come. Then, in the 1970s, Audemars Piguet approached him to design a watch. But I think no one ever imagined just how big this watch would become, especially since legend has it he designed the watch the night before presenting it to AP. It was inspired by a diving helmet, which is evident in the screws and the very angular designs, similar to the Omega dial. This watch was highly controversial because it was the first time a luxury watch was made from stainless steel. What was incredible was that a steel watch could be more expensive than a gold watch. A few years later, Patek Philippe reached out to Genta, seeing that the AP was a success and of course wanting a piece of the pie as well. Again, the legend says he designed the watch in 5 minutes on a paper napkin. Who would have thought it would go from a napkin to becoming the most important and sought after watch in the world? This time, the watch was inspired by ship windows. You could say that to some extent, the Nautilus is the evolved and refined version of the Royal Oak. It showcases all of Genta's design school, but in a much more refined manner. Now, while there are basically billions of watches designed by Genta, I think these 4 are the most significant and recognizable. But above all, if you notice, they are watches that have remained relevant 50 or 60 years later. Basically, what he designed turned to gold. Undoubtedly, the Omega Pipan continues to influence Omega watches today. But without question, he designed the two most iconic watches in history. And these watches were a turning point for the watch industry. One could argue that the Royal Oak saved the luxury watch sector. Therefore, Gerald Genta, in designing that watch, saved Swiss watchmaking with basically a design he created just one night before. Moreover, these two watches have served as an inspiration for thousands of sporty pieces around the world, not only for the innovative use of stainless steel, but also for incorporating very industrial and nautical elements. And additionally, the integrated bracelet created a trend in the 1970s, and it still resonates today in the 2020s. They became iconic and timeless watches. But what do you think?